TMNT Shellraiser is a Gerstlauer Euro-fighter located at Nickelodeon Universe inside American Dream Mall. The roller coaster has been operating for about 5 months now, so it's still rather new, and some might even consider it a new for 2020 attraction since it didn't open to the public until October of 2019. The roller coaster towers over the rest of the attractions and serves as the backdrop to the entire park. Back at the end of February, I took my family to American Dream and was able to score a couple rides on this record-breaking attraction. I have a lot of thoughts about this marquee attraction, so let's dive into this review. Presentation. If you were to ask me how I would label Nickelodeon Universe, I would tell you that it is an indoor amusement park featuring a nice selection of thrill rides. The key word in that sentence is amusement park, which yes, means this isn't a theme park. Not that it's a problem, but yes, Nickelodeon Universe is an amusement park as it focuses on the thrill rides and not on the theming. There is theming when it comes to their attractions, but it's almost exclusively to their ride signs. Shellraiser is no different. The entrance for the ride is where all the theming is located. Unfortunately, once you board the train, there isn't anything happening that would remind you that this roller coaster is themed to the Ninja Turtles. As far as I'm concerned, you could rename this attraction to Beyond Vertical Drop Coaster and I wouldn't think it would make a difference. When you look at the images of Takabisha in Japan, the ride is staged differently, mainly it's outside, but the biggest difference is the first inversion of the ride is completely enclosed, creating a neat surprise moment. Shellraiser, everything is out in the open, which I think is a missed opportunity to take this attraction to the next level. The station has no unique qualities to pull you into the attraction, it's just a functional platform for loading and unloading guests. Again, there is nothing wrong with this, but if you're expecting a theme park experience, Shellraiser will not provide you with that kind of experience. The ride has some neat lighting once it gets dark. It's not as advanced like Hang Time or other various Gerstlauer attractions, but it does the job. Overall, presentation is perfectly fine. I guess I'm just a little disappointed that they didn't add a little more. It's possible that we might see some more theming in the future, which I really hope so. Presentation gets a score of 8. Ride smoothness. I'm going to go a little out of order with today's review, but I thought I need to discuss the elephant in the room before discussing the rest of Shellraiser, and that's the ride smoothness. My first ride, I was put in the front row, far left seat. For my sake, it was very unfortunate because it was considerably rough. The bottom of each inversion made me feel like my neck was going to snap like a twig. It's been some time, as while I'm riding a roller coaster, I began to wish that the ride would stop. The halfway point of the ride was bittersweet to me. In one way, I was anxiously nervous looking forward to that vertical drop, well, beyond vertical drop, and with the other hand, I wanted off. I am completely baffled as to why this brand new roller coaster could be so rough. To add to the confusion, once I got off, my wife hopped on and sat in the same exact seat, but in the next train. She said it was really smooth and didn't notice any headbanging or rattle. I didn't know how to respond as here I am now with this throbbing headache, and Kara says that the ride was really smooth. The park was really busy during my visit, but I wasn't going to let that one ride be my final decision of Shellraiser. So later in the day, I got another ride. This time I sat in the back row, middle seat, and to my complete amazement, the ride experience was night and day different. It was very smooth, and I experienced no rattle. I really didn't know why the front or back would make this much of a difference, or even sitting over the wheel could make the ride considerably worse, but trust me, this is a back row middle seat or bust. If I were to rank the smoothness of each ride, my first run through was a 1. Honestly, it ranks up there as one of the worst for me. When you get off a ride with a throbbing headache, in my opinion, it's an instant 1. Now to clarify, it wasn't like my head was being bashed between the restraints. There was a little of that, but it was like we were running over huge potholes, causing my head to shake forward and backwards. The second run I would rank as a 9. It was really smooth and had little to no headbanging. If that was my first experience, I would be jumping at the bit to hop back in line, but after my first experience, I was very skeptical strapping myself back into this alleged torture device. The average between the two scores comes to a 5, so that's my final score for ride smoothness. Ride intensity. I was pleasantly surprised how intense this roller coaster is. There are a few moments that pack in the G's, which I wasn't expecting. The ride starts off with a 180-degree turn out of the station, followed by a dip, then a 100-degree turn to the right that goes into a slow heartline roll. This inversion provides some fun hang time, as it's a great little moment before heading into the meat of this attraction. After the inversion, the train takes a small steep drop leading into the launch. This launch is very forceful, which took me by surprise. It pushes you back into your seat, then sending you into the tallest inversion of the ride. This inversion was my favorite. You travel really slow at the top, giving you some fun hang time. I was also starting to wonder if it would roll back, but of course we didn't, and we continued on our way. The coaster becomes very disorienting as you're flying into a banana roll followed by a corkscrew and a twisting airtime hill. Most roller coasters, this is where you would think the coaster would come to an end, but not for Shellraiser. This is the halfway point. When the train rolls up to the vertical lift, that's when my heart really starts pumping. I always get nervous while climbing up vertical lift hills. They are terrifying to me, mostly for one reason. Not to completely steer off course, but the reason I hate vertical lifts reverts back to a time when I got stuck on a ride. In 2012, I got stuck on a Windseeker attraction about 200 feet in the air. The whole fiasco lasted about 3 hours. Ever since that day, I avoid any tower attractions. Vertical lifts also land into this category, but I'm slowly getting over it. Anyways, fast forward to today, and the most terrifying moment of this attraction is the lift. It is very intimidating, and a little tip for those who might feel the same about vertical lifts. The ride almost comes to a complete stop before reaching the top. It crawls during the last 15 feet of the ascent. At the top, the ride holds you at a slanted angle, allowing you to gaze at the Manhattan skyline. Personally, they keep you up there a little too long. It's about 15 seconds before the train starts to crawl forward, sending you into the steepest drop in the world. The angle of descent is 121.5 degrees. It's literally a half degree steeper than Takabisha. This is the moment where you get the best airtime as the ride attempts to eject you from your seat. The remaining inversions are also enjoyable, again packing in some strong positive G's at the bottom of each inversion. The bottom of the main drop is where you experience the strongest G forces, and if you're seated in the front row, the roughest part of the ride. Overall, Shellraiser is a roller coaster that packs a decent punch, earning a 9 rating for ride intensity. Fun factor: if we remove my first time around, this makes for one fun attraction. The vertical lift and beyond vertical drop are both intimidating and exciting. I always enjoy when a roller coaster starts messing with my anxiety, and Shellraiser does a decent job at that. The launch, as mentioned earlier, is a forceful, fun moment. Just the first half of this ride would be enough to make a solid attraction, but with the addition of the second part, Shellraiser really goes all out. Every inversion on Shellraiser is enjoyable. The giant corkscrew is my personal favorite because of all the hang time, but every other inversion adds to the excitement as well. Both halves of the ride is very disorienting and add to the chaos. Shredder, the Gerstlauer spinning coaster, is weaving itself throughout the entire ride. If you knew nothing about this attraction before boarding, you may not even realize that there is a launch. Heck, you might even think Shellraiser and Shredder are just one giant roller coaster. You'd see that vertical lift and assume, yeah, that's the first big hill, but nope, that's the halfway point. Kara actually didn't know anything about Shellraiser before riding, and she was pleasantly surprised that when she spotted the launch track a few seconds ahead of her. Shellraiser has all the trimmings to make this an enjoyable ride. It's just unfortunate that the front row and the outer seats can be so rough, which is why I can't give this a perfect 10 rating, so I'll settle with a 8.5 for the fun factor. Originality. TMNT Shellraiser is a clone coaster, so that will knock off a point for originality, but since this is the second version, and with the addition of the spinning coaster interlaced with Shellraiser, this coaster brings a lot of fresh new ideas to the table. For those like myself, who have never been to Japan, this might be the only version of the ride that you will ever experience. It's a great layout with excellent pacing. Some might not agree with that statement, but I don't mind the mid-course stop. The emotional experience of the ride doesn't come to an abrupt halt with the brakes. Instead, it starts amping you up as you face straight up at that 141-foot lift. The beyond vertical drop isn't anything new, but at 121.5 degrees, it's very intense. As you're being held up on the drop, waiting to plummet, it's weird looking down and not seeing the track below. Actually, if they could have created a fake floor that the train could dive under at the bottom of the first drop, it would enhance this sensation even more. All in all, Gerstlauer did a great job with this ride layout, earning a 9 rating for originality. Okay, the final score comes to 7.9, which is a good score. In my opinion, Shellraiser is a roller coaster of missed potential. This has the tools to be one of the best roller coasters on the planet. Unfortunately, the ride's smoothness and lack of interactive theming really holds this attraction back. It's hard to say that I could recommend a roller coaster that gave me a headache, but if you sit in the correct seats, this Gerstlauer attraction has the means to thrill your pants off. The theming is more of a pipe dream of mine, but still a missed opportunity. This coaster could really shine if the theming was on point, but is still a great attraction regardless. My personal score is going to be a 7. As I said already, it's hard to recommend a roller coaster that gave me a headache. I think because now I know how to ride this attraction, my opinion of this coaster will only improve with each visit. Starting off with a headache put me at odds, but the second ride really saved this attraction from being completely written off. Shellraiser is a decent roller coaster that offers a different change of pace from Rocky Mountain Construction, B&M, and Mock rides. It might gather some inspiration from those other manufacturers, but still does its own thing. That holding brake on the top reminds me of the holding brakes on a B&M dive coaster, but personally, Shellraiser does it better. Well, thank you for watching today's review. Let me know what you think of Shellraiser in the comments below. Was I a little too harsh on this coaster? Did you have a different experience than I did? Let me know about it in the comments below. As always, please subscribe so you don't miss out on more great content coming your way by XscreamThrills.